Savitri was told to annul herself totally, that only God may be. She sets herself on the difficult occult path of total annulment of whatever is there in her belonging to the inconscient origin is to be blown out, blown off, that the place is made vacant for the residence of God. Savitri first saw the origin of thoughts. Either those thoughts were rising from the subtle body or they were coming from the cosmic field. Savitri went beyond that, and the one only real shut itself from space and stood aloof from the idea of time. Space and time had disappeared from her existence. The only thing that remained was the labor of sight, but that also stopped. Sight could not define for it a form. It met as the uncaught, inaudible voice that speaks forever from the unknowable. Whatever Savitri is listening, she is listening from the unknowable. It met her like an omnipresent point of pure dimension, unfixed, invisible. Savitri is reduced to the point of pure dimensions. The single oneness of its multiplied beat, it faced her as some vast knots, immensity, nothing. Finally, Savitri attains formless liberation. The process was, if all existence could renounce to be and being take refuge in non-being's arms, and non-being could strike out its ciphered around, some luster of that reality might appear. That is exactly what Savitri has done. All existence she has renounced. Her being takes refuge in the arms of non-being. She has become a zero in the arms of non-being. Non-being struck out, then this non-being struck out the cipher which had formed. Being took refuge in non-being's arms. Non-being struck out is ciphered round, and Savitri experiences a luster of that reality. In her case, existence is renounced. Being has taken refuge in the arms of non-being. That non-being now has struck out the ciphered round, and in that experience, Savitri sees that A luster of reality has entered into her. Savitri had the realization of formless liberation. Form has disappeared. Name has disappeared. All the objective aspects of creation, they had disappeared. What remains is only the formless, the nameless, the unqualified one. She was no more a person. She was no more an individual. She was no more a person in the world. She had escaped into infinity. She was delivered from knowledge and ignorance. The duality of knowledge and ignorance did not exist for her. Ignorance in this world, knowledge in the higher world, even that she has renounced. She is delivered from both knowledge and ignorance. She is delivered from the true and the untrue, from the good and the evil, from the right and the wrong. She is totally free of this duality, the transcendental and the phenomenal. She is delivered from knowledge and ignorance, where beyond the self-born world, the nude idea, she has gone into the world beyond the idea itself, nude idea, beyond the self-born world, Swayambhu Brahma. Even beyond that Swayambhu Brahma, she has gone, the made, the mute idea, the nude idea. She found the solid ground of consciousness. It is beyond the nude idea that she found the real ground, the solid support for consciousness, for this existence. Utterly effaced, she was a point in the unknowable. She was a point in the unknowable. Yet, it seemed that some annulment still remained. She had dissolved herself, so to say, totally into the unknowable. She would have vanished into the unknowable, yet something remained back in her case. Yet some last annulment remained, because there was a memory of being still present in her. The memory of being still lingered in her, and it is that which held her back from the total annulment into the unknowable. That memory kept her separate from that nothingness. She was in that, but still became not that. Yes, she was living in that, but still she would not become that, because the memory of being held her back from that. This memory of being, this shadow, could again throw her back into this creation. It could be a point of contact towards this creation. It could be a base, it could be a rallying support to bring her back into action. She could not annul herself totally because of that memory of being. She could come back because of it, return out of the inconceivable. If she would return, what would she do? In what manner? With what alternatives? With what possibilities would she return? What the unknowable would decree for her? She would return not with her will, but with the will of the unknowable. If she would return, she might have choices. She would accept only that which the unknowable would decree for her. She might be not, that is one possibility. She might be nothing, she might be not. Otherwise, she might new become the all. She might be nothing, or she might become all in another way. She might emerge as someone and redeem the world. She might become nothing, she might become all. She might emerge to redeem the world. She might learn what the mystic zero held for the creation. She might know what the zero is there for. Through the darkened sun, she might find the secret way to the ineffable. The sun which had accepted its condition in the darkness here, the darkened sun, through the darkened sun, secret way to the ineffable. That might be the thing which is held by the mystic zero for her. Her splendid being flames back in the face of these possibilities. Her splendid being flames back. It becomes a gleaming portion of the all wonderful. It becomes a power of the all affirming absolute. It becomes a mirror of the eternal truth, mirror to show the souls of man, the one and all, to show to the souls of men, the one in all. She might wake in God's quietude. These are the alternatives. She might wake in God's quietude and remain in featureless, objectless, wide eternity. But this possibility is unreal. Her staying back in God's quietude, this possibility is unreal, is remote, is covered in blank. It is not that which is going to happen to Savitri. She might wake into God's quietude. No, that is not what is going to happen to Savitri. In infinite nothingness, Savitri sees the ultimate sign. In that total void, that mystic zero, in that nothingness, Savitri sees the ultimate sign. If the sign is not there, if that mystic zero would not hold that sign, if the infinite nothingness would not bear that sign, then the real itself, the transcendental real itself, might become the unknowable. It is because of the sign that the unknowable can turn into the real. And it is that real which must be the ground for operation. A lonely absolute negated all. It effaced the ignorant world. It drowned the soul in its peace. That is the final annulment of Savitri. Her soul drowned in infinite peace. That is the final annulment of Savitri. And it is in that infinite peace that God would dwell in it. Savitri has already come to that point. It is a kind of a laya for Savitri to totally go away from this creation, from this inconscient creation, and be a point of pure dimension in the transcendent. And it is that point of pure dimension which will expand here in this creation. We'll just read some of those parts again. If all existence could renounce to being, and being take refuge in non-being's arms, and non-being could strike out its ciphered around, some luster of that reality might appear. A formless liberation came on her. Once sepulchred, alive in brain and flesh, she had risen up from body, mind, and life. She was no more a person in a world. She had escaped into infinity. What once had been herself had disappeared. There was no frame of things, no figure of soul. A refugee from the domain of sense, evading the necessity of thought, delivered from knowledge and from ignorance, and rescued from the true and the untrue. She shared the subconscious high retreat beyond the self-born world, the nude idea, the first bare solid ground of consciousness. Beings were not there. Existence had no place. There was no temptation of the joy to be unutterably effaced. No one and null, a vanishing vestige like a violated trail, a faint record merely of a self now past. She was a point in the unknowable. Only some last annulment now remained. Annihilation's vague, indefinable step. A memory of being still was there. A memory of being still was there, and kept her separate from nothingness. She was in that, but still became not that. The shadow of herself, so close to not, could be again, says Savitri, to live, return out of the inconceivable, and be what some mysterious vast might choose. Even as the unknowable decreed, she might be not or new become the all, or if the omnipotent Nihil took a shape, emerged as someone and redeemed the world. Even she might learn what the mystic cipher held. This same exit The seeming exit or close end of all could be a blind, tenebrous passage screened from sight. Her state, the eclipsing shell of a darkened sun, on its secret way to the ineffable. Even now, her splendid being might flame back out of the silence and the nullity, a gleaming potion of the all wonderful, a power of some all forming absolute, a shining mirror of the eternal truth to show to the one in all is manifest fame, to the souls of men their deep identity, or she might wake into God's quietude beyond the cosmic day and cosmic night and rest appeased in his white eternity. But this was now unreal or remote or covered in the mystic fathomless blank. In infinite nothingness was the ultimate sign, or else the real was the unknowable. A lonely absolute negated all. It effaced the ignorant world from its solitude and drowned the soul in its everlasting peace.